to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I ask the town clerk to perform the roll call, please.
Councilman Woodry?
Here.
Councilwoman DeShane?
Here.
Councilman Hoyt?
Here.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Here.
Supervisor Russell?
Here. First order of business is the review and approval of minutes. We have the town board meeting of November 14th, 2022, with a correction to resolution number 51 of 2022. The Yankee Doodle Band should have been resolution 54 of 2022. Public hearing, local law number 1 of November 28th, 2022. The public hearing for local law number 2 of 2022 on November 28th, 2022. And our workshop and special meeting from November 28th, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to accept those minutes. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilwoman DeShane.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, moving on to reports and remittances from department heads and town committees. The supervisor reports were prepared over the weekend and were available to council members and posted online. Any conversation or issues with that? No? All right. Then we have the town clerk's report.
All right, for November, we had a highway insurance payment for guardrails on Dublin Road for $4,970.50. Town clerk fees brought in $245.61. Planning board brought in $175. Trash brought in $2,585.91. Building permits were $200. And the youth department brought in $119.70 with bottles. Total revenues for the month was $8,792.11. Check going to Agri Market for $39. Payment to DEC for hunting licenses for $456.39. The check to the supervisor is $8,296.72.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the town clerk's report. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Let's go with Councilman Beaudry, seconded by Councilman Beaudry.
Councilman Woodry?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeShane?
Yes.
Councilman Hoyt?
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Yes.
And Supervisor Russell?
Yes. Highway Superintendent. Good evening, Jared.
Evening. Everything's pretty quiet. I mean, we've been ditching until the snow rolled in the other day. So luckily the grade all's been working out real good that we bought over the summer. 2 machines on 1 road keeps everybody pretty busy. Snow rolled in. Everybody come back in one piece and all the roads got done. I'll take that as a win compared to some of the other municipalities that didn't fare so well. Buildings are all wrapped up for the winter. Concrete came out sweet. The doors look great. Siding's back on. It's insulated. Got a bid going out to update our 1974 roller that we use on the roads. So that's the only real news as far as machinery goes. Other than that, it's like winter's here, so we're ready. So we're in pretty good shape as far as winter goes. Other than that, I don't have a lot to report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The assessor has submitted a report for November, processed sales and escrows from the county, reviewed properties in the field, met with taxpayers, held office hours, went over new construction permits, attended the sexual discrimination and harassment webinar, and exemption renewals were mailed out. Okay, buildings and code enforcement, Mr. Witkowski.
We have 50 permits out here today, still doing some inspections, sort of quieted down this time of year, just about it.
All right, the rescue squad. Anyone here from the squad tonight? No? All right, they've submitted a report for November. The total calls were 11, the total miles were 111, the total hours were 22. They had 3 Alpha, 3 Bravo, 2 Charlie, 2 Delta, no Echo, and 1 Fire. 3 calls missed, 1 RMA, 1 no patient found, and 2 calls canceled, and 1 lift assist. They went to Samaritan Hospital 3 times. 10 calls were in the daytime and 1 call was in the nighttime. 8 weekday calls, 1 weeknight call, 2 weekend day calls, and no weekend night calls. We decorated and displayed a tree at the Grafton Festival of Trees held at Graywack Meadows. That's from the rescue squad. Okay, the dog control officer report.
And 1 dog running loose over on Dunham Road. The owner showed up before I was there to retrieve the dog. And a barking complaint. They contacted the owners and the complainant and settled the issue.
Thank you. Youth Program Director report. All right, Grafton Community Library.
Okay, so the statistics for November, 492 books checked out, 292 ebooks checked out, 30 participants in food club, patron visits, 201 adults, 25 children, 8 teens. We sent out our annual letter to the community on November 15th. The programs, the Lego programs is going strong on Monday nights. We're averaging 10 to 14 kids a Monday night. The homework club that we've been trying to advertise and get going, and everybody has thought there was a need for, is not going so well. We've offered it for Tuesday nights since October. 2 times we've had 3 kids, and the rest of the time, no children. So the school doesn't want to continue it. We've asked them to continue it for 2 more weeks until school break, and then we'll see how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you, Leanne. All right, the Grafton Lakes State Park. I saw Tamara coming. There she is. Hi, Tamara.
So this past Friday, we had our luminary walk, and we did very well. We had over 1,300 people show up. Over 61 gallons of hot cocoa made, and over 600 s'mores made. So really great community event. It's only the second time we've done it. And we did end up buying twice as many, or got another batch of lights, so our trails were twice as long this year. So we're hoping with the money that we made from this year, we can make the trails even longer for next year. Other than that, obviously we now have snow, so snowshoe rentals are in effect soon. So you can come to the Welcome Center and rent snowshoes out. And then we do have winter programs. So we have programs, we have a first day hike, we have snowshoe hikes, and then of course we have our annual ice fishing tournament and winter festival. So I'll put all of these little flyers up at front. The ice fishing tournament is the 2nd Saturday in January 14th, and the winter festival is the 3rd Saturday in January 21st.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the Recreation Committee.
So we had about 30 people at the Yankee Doodle dance. One of the things that I noticed, and I think that it would help if we had more board member interaction with these events. You know, if a couple or all of the board members would show up and maybe just, you know, show support. That's just my feeling. We did meet, we met with Jane. Do you remember when we met with Jane? I don't remember. September, I would say, yeah. And we've already started working on the June picnic, which is always a crowd favorite. But, you know, again, I think if we can just maybe capture some of the board members and, you know, just get some more support.
Even if a couple of, you know, you guys like took turns. I know Steve does a lot of camping and stuff in the summer. So maybe somebody else could attend, you know. Frank attends almost every one of them. But if a couple of you could attend, I think it would help and greet and you know, welcome the people, and like if somebody was there to like kickstart the Yankee Doodle Band, just something that people know will be, you know, like a standard type thing. I think it would help. So, and I don't think we're going to do anything in December next year. We don't actually have anything planned for December next year. So we're trying, you know, different things and see what works and what does not work.
And one other thing I want to mention, there's no way to thank Tom Woodcusky enough for letting us use this school. It's amazing. The acoustics are great, and the people that are there always comment on how great the acoustics are in the school. If not for Tom allowing us to use the school, we probably wouldn't be doing anything just because of weather. So that's huge. A huge, big thank you to Tom.
Definitely.
Okay, senior citizen representative? All right, the Merrymakers.
Merrymakers concluded this year with our Christmas party, December 3rd at Giuseppe's. It was well attended. We had a very good year. We've had guest speakers at almost every meeting, just a wide variety. Somebody about insurance, we had Craig, we had Tamara from State Park, just different things. And we've had new members join this year. It's been a very good year. And we do also want to thank Tom because he came in at Giuseppe's at our meeting and paid for everybody's meal. The Grafton Merrymakers bought the hors d'oeuvres and dessert, but Tom paid for everybody's meal, so we really do appreciate that. And the seniors were quite surprised when I went around and gave them their checks back. They were like, oh, did I write it out wrong or what? So they were very thrilled and definitely thanked Tom because he did come in and for a minute to say hi. So, but we had a super year. And
What's your membership approximately?
Well, currently, to tell you the truth, I just bought stamps and I needed 20-some stamps to mail out Christmas cards to each member, so, you know, that's where we are.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
And just, if I could add
Yes.
one thing.
Sure.
The bank, so when the,
Oh, yes.
when Kathy turns in the receipts, the check then comes from the town and has my name on it.
It's wrote to her, which is
So
incorrect.
payable to me. Now, the bank has not an issue with it because I'm depositing the check made out to me directly into the account of the Merrymakers. But she did say, the bank manager did say, you really should talk to, you know, your town officials. That check should be made out to the Merrymakers, not to me, because it's not my money. And she did say it probably won't happen, but there is a possibility that that check could be kicked back. It needs, she said it needs to be made out to the Grafton Merrymakers and not to me.
The voucher, I put down Grafton Merrymakers and then Linda and her address because she's the treasurer, so the check needs to go to her, but should not be made out to her.
You think you can follow up with that, Vicki, with your voucher system? Thank you. All right, thank you, ladies. All right, moving on to new business, or, no, excuse me, moving on to communications received. We have received a letter from Attorney David Bloomberg, but he is also able to speak during our public comment session. So I think we'll address the correspondence from Mr. Bloomberg.
No, during the public comment.
I think during public comment, yes. And we also have a correspondence from the RPA, which we can also address during the public comment. All right, for new business, do we have anything? Old business?
We got the credit card machine up and running.
Okay.
I will, online payments will be the next step. Once we get a few more things set up so that we make it seamless and effortless. So we do now accept credit cards, debit cards, and e-checks.
for everything that you sell through your office and also taxes? Property
Yes,
taxes?
Amanda will be using it for tax collection.
Good. Great. Okay. All right. Now we're on to the public comment section of the meeting. This is privilege of the floor. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes per person. Be mindful the public comment portion of the meeting is a privilege. All comments and statements shall be directed to the town board. Please refrain from any personal attacks, name calling, or derogatory public comments toward individuals.
Now can I come up?
Sure. Let's start with Mr. Groenberg.
There's a resolution on the agenda tonight, it's number 62. I think many of you may know what that resolution is. It was placed on the agenda, I think, last Tuesday. That's when Ingrid first told me about it. My name is David Gruenberg. I'm the attorney who's been representing her in the ethics inquiry covered or that the town board has been working on, the ethics report. But since that resolution was put on the agenda, the town board's received 2 letters. And those 2 letters are attached to the town agenda. If you go on the website, there's my letter that I sent on Friday, and there's another letter from Jim Bonesteel, who's the head of the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance. And it's my position that those 2 letters collectively should persuade the board to either not go forward with this, or to vote it down, or to table it, or in some other way respond to this, other than go forward with it. And basically the first point that I made in my letter, or primarily, is there's been a mistake in the way the town ethics system has proceeded here, because basically this board adopted a new Chapter 17 of the code back on December 31st of 2021. And that local law number 1 of 2021, repealed the old Chapter 17 of your code that provided for enforcement of ethics laws and so forth. And it totally if you look at the local law number 1, what it says is, its purpose is, it is the intent of this local law to replace such chapter, that is the previous Chapter 17, in its entirety with a new ethics code. Then another section of that new local law, 1724, says, it's called Repeal of Chapter 17 of Local Law number 1 of 1999. So that's another reference that they're repealing the previous local law. And it recites, that section recites that Chapter 17 of the Code of Grafton is hereby repealed and superseded. Another section, 1725 of the new local law, said the Town Ethics Code of the Town of Grafton is hereby replaced and superseded in its entirety pursuant to this local law. So what they were doing was they were repealing the old Chapter 17, and they've added a new Chapter 17. So when my understanding is that the so-called Board of Ethics members who presented an ethics report to this town in August of 2022 were all appointed under the old law. That board ceased to exist on December 31st, 2021, because the law under which it was authorized ceased to exist. It was repealed. And that's made clear in the new ethics law, which has the local law 2021, which you did at the end of last year, where you said there's no provision in that local law for continuing on the board members. Nothing is said about that. Instead, section 1719 of that new law, and this is all set forth in my letter if you want to read it at some point in time, says, there is hereby established a Board of Ethics for the town of Grafton. In other words, the local law enacted in December of 2021 established or created a new Board of Ethics. The problem is, at least as I understand it, and I could be wrong here, but as I understand it, the board never went forward and appointed members to that ethics board. I'm not saying anybody was, doing anything intentionally wrong, but basically you eliminated one board, you didn't create a new board. The individuals on the former board continued along under the belief that they were still members of the Board of the Ethics, or that a Board of Ethics still existed, but but it didn't. So their report on which which is attached to your resolution, and on which I think your resolution tonight was based, that report is a nullity. And the problem you have is that the new law, when it changed out, when it replaced the old law, gave the new Board of Ethics investigatory power. It was different. It was a different Board of Ethics. And it said the Board of Ethics was supposed to investigate complaints and then report to you, and then you can take action, which is, I think, what the resolution planned to do here. You can take action based on that report. But there was no board. There is no board.
That's fine, then. That's fine.
I'm going to ask to continue
I'd like
because
to
of the
move
importance of this matter.
Councilor Bloomberg continues.
It's up to the board here, but Dave, could you finish up in a minute or two, you think?
Yeah, I think these are important
I
issues
give
here,
them
and
the
it's
leeway.
the first time, the board has first learned of this, or I sent the letter on Friday. I hope that all the board members, because I think.
Dave, they're giving you the minute or two, go ahead. Finish
Okay,
up.
Bill.
He can have my 5 minutes.
There you go.
I'll finish what I have.
Let's Mr. Bloomberg finish, everybody.
That's the first piece of information that the board got on Friday. I don't know what the results of consultations with the town attorney or their lawyer, Mr. Lewebrand, have generated in terms of what I'm telling them. The other problem for this is that on Friday also, the board received a letter from Jim Bonesteel, who is the executive director of the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance.
Dave, is Jim here today by any chance?
He's not.
Okay.
He could not be here. And basically, he says that none of the allegations in this complaint are true. He recites from Kevin Lewebrand's letter, which is attached and made part of this resolution. This is the guy who is running the grant that is the subject of this alleged unethical behavior. The letter states, quote, "The federal grant application process required local support from the municipality where the property was located. This is not true," bolded, and you can look at the letter yourself. The federal grant application does not require this. The letter continues saying, in order for the federal grant to move forward and become available to the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance, the federal funding agency required approval from the town of Grafton. This is not true. The Forest Service does not require this. Furthermore, personnel at the Forest Service have been notified of the town of Grafton's ethics report, have reviewed our grant application considering that, and have found no issues. The letter states, notwithstanding and without an expression of the town of Grafton's support, Supervisor Gundrum notified the director of the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance that the town of Grafton indeed supported the project. This is not true and did not happen. In the grant application, I wrote, the town supervisor is supportive of this project and has been engaged from the beginning. The supervisor intends to get involved and attend committee meetings. This does not state the town expressed support for this project. I could have corrected the misunderstandings at any point if the ethics board or any other representative from the town had reached out to verify my statement. So in other words, the report from this basically non-existent board, it's basically just a report from 3 citizens, which has no validity, is a report where they never spoke to Ingrid, and they never spoke to the person who was actually administering the grant, obtaining the funds, and so forth. Now, I know that this information, which is kind of new and I would say kind of dramatic in terms of this resolution, reached the board members probably on Friday. And I don't know if they've had time to consult with their lawyer or lawyers. I don't know if they've had time to follow up with the Rensselaer Plateau Alliance or make any other inquiry. I think basically the pins underneath this thing have been knocked out by these 2 letters and the fact that there is no Board of Ethics in the town of Grafton. But at the very least, I would recommend that you table this motion and respond or think carefully about the issues raised in these 2 letters, because that's what fairness requires. You know, I've been in politics a long time, local politics. I've been a town attorney in 4 or 5 different towns in Rensselaer County. And I understand that enmities can grow in towns and between members of the town board. And there can be hostility between board members. But I think suggesting that someone be prosecuted criminally, which is what this does, suggesting someone resign, suggesting someone be censured. These are all inappropriate ways to conduct political warfare. The way to do it, if you want Ingrid Gundrum out of office, the way to get Ingrid Gundrum out of office is if she runs next November for supervisor, and I haven't had that conversation with her, if she runs, you run someone against her, and you defeat her at the polls. You let the people decide who ought to be running the town. Now, I've asked the board, if they haven't reviewed those letters carefully, that you do so. I realize you only had 3 days to do it, but I think it's important enough in this matter that you do it.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board right now for allowing Mr. Gruenberg to finish what he had to say. The town of Grafton has spent a considerable amount of money in my defense on this, and it was very important that you hear what he was able to come up with in my defense. So thank you, board members, for allowing that. Mr. Buckley from the floor.
Madam Supervisor, I want to thank you once again, like I did in November, for your patience in dealing with the nonsense that takes place on this board. Furthermore, I want to thank Mr. Gruenberg for coming up here and spelling this out with a court of public opinion. My first question to this board is a very simple one. Who authored this resolution?
You can't answer any questions.
Was it you, Mr. Attorney? Was it you, Mr. Town Attorney? Did you
Thank
author
you for your
this?
statement.
Did you author this resolution, sir? If you did, I think you should resign from this board as well. From here in January during the organizational meeting, and I really think the remainder of this board should seriously consider hiring Mr. Gruenberg, because apparently he knows how to do this better than you do, sir. Okay? And when Mr. Gruenberg becomes a town attorney, he should get our money back from you. That's what I think. Ingrid, I continue to support you.
It sounds like a personal
That's
attack.
definitely a personal attack.
And that's fine. You guys can take it any way you want. At the end of the day, Madam Supervisor, I salute you once again. And I also salute Councilman Hoyt, because I know that he is not participating in any of this. And I thank you for bringing a little bit of help back to this, and I thank you.
Oh, that was good. Thank you. That was awesome. Good job.
Mrs. LaRock, Nancy Powers LaRock from the floor.
I just got a couple of things reading these letters that went back and forth that is really disturbing to me. Because I thought when the ethics board, the one that we don't have, was put together, that board members were not supposed to be attached to them. And I remember when they first started going through and writing up the laws, there was a board member involved. I also, unless it's a board member that has the actual complaint, and if it is, they should have reclused themselves from the board and not able to have anything to do with making decisions on this complaint. And if they didn't, how come the letter that was sent to the ethic board had a board members, and it was sent directly to that board member and no other board member? That's a conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned. And I don't see how that can be legal. Thank you.
Joe Elaine from the floor.
Off of that subject for a second. Earlier this year, there was an audit of the supervisor's books that took place. I guess we can't find out who authorized that audit. I mean, we can't find out because it was a resolution that was passed. And apparently you say that we can't find out who made the resolution or who proposed the resolution. You just said it a minute ago.
You said the board can't answer. I'm
No,
confused by that as well.
he can make a statement.
Okay,
And he's making a statement.
right.
And I'm sure he's going to check the town's website afterwards.
Well, she can answer too.
Yeah, I'm confused why you said the
This is
board can't
public
answer.
comment.
Right.
You're not
But-
supposed to get into debate.
She can.
He wasn't on his cell phone, so we don't know what's going on.
I'd like to know who presented the resolution and what was the result of the audit. Were these findings made public? Because I didn't think that as much to do about it came out after the fact. Were the findings made public? Was Supervisor Gundrum cleared of her suspicions? And what was the cost to the taxpayer for that audit? I know this is public comment, but I expect a response.
It was in the neighborhood of $16,500.
Yeah.
And there were recommendations made in the audit that, there were recommendations made for me professionally as supervisor that should be done, that I've done. I've corrected them pursuant to the audit. But there have been a few other things that were mentioned that we don't have resolution to.
Incidentals.
Not so incidentals, but.
Okay. I would like to know who proposed resolution number 62 this evening.
If it wasn't the town board, it had to be someone on the board. If it wasn't the town attorney,
Who procured the Louis law firm?
Senior council member.
Why was the correspondence from that law firm addressed to one town board member? I thought the board was presenting this. Why does this all seem to be pointing in one direction? Reading the Louis opinion, it appears that any citizen can make an application for Supervisor Gundrum's removal if, in fact, as a town board member, there could be no town funds spent. How is Mr. Lewinbrun being compensated?
To my knowledge, he hasn't presented a bill to the town yet, so I don't know.
That sounds like a conflict to me. It does not sound like the town board is supposed to be doing this according to the opinion. And it was even in his opinion, too. And lastly, I support Supervisor Gundrum and ask that she does not, or she consider rerunning for her position.
Wait, that I do or I don't consider rerunning? That I do?
A lot of non-answers.
Yes, Mr.
Just as a matter of public information, I did look up the, it was in September, I'm off the top of my head, September 12th, I believe, board minutes that did outline the cost of the legal fees for both the Louis firm and Mr. Gruenberg. Louis was anywhere, depending if it was a partner or an associate, anywhere from $650 to $150 per hour. Mr. Gruenberg was $250 per hour. And that was voted on by the board. That is our taxpayer funding, paying for the attorney's fees, that part of it. So the other question I had was regarding the ethics board. I know they're voluntary, but are they required to recite an oath of office? Because even voluntary Board of Trustees of libraries recite an oath of office. It's required by New York State. So I wonder if the local ethics board, do they take an oath of office? I assume that's a legal question.
Did they not going to get an answer?
Did they?
we weren't even listening.
Did they?
He's on his cell phone.
We don't give
How does he
answers.
know
We
what
do not
he's
make
saying?
statements.
They have to sign the.
He's become irrelevant. He's become irrelevant.
So I'm assuming they did not take an oath of office. I suppose we can all assume that.
I don't recall a swearing-in ceremony per se. I know that the former ethics board under the former law signed the oath book in 2021.
They did, all right.
They signed the oath book, but I wasn't present. I don't know that the clerk actually did the right hand of the Bible and swore.
I couldn't find anything about it.
In fairness, it should be known that still one of these board members resigned. That's telling.
The meeting they
Right.
got a handle.
Right. Okay. Anyone else from the floor tonight? Yes, Mr. Young.
Hi. I'm quite concerned about Resolution 62. It seems to be written based on the RPA letter on a misrepresentation of the facts. And it seems to be based on the misrepresentation of the facts that Supervisor Gundrum presented that the town board had approved this, and from what RPA says, and certainly from what they quote from their own application, she did not do that, and it was nowhere represented in the application. And for that reason, I think at a minimum this should be tabled, and quite possibly should just be eliminated, unless somebody's going to go do a whole lot of homework and really get the facts down straight first.
You mean kind of like the homework that they did the last time that wasn't done?
Well, you know, the homework should have been done the first time, but, you know, now that more has been put forward, that should have been done the first time. If anybody is going to pursue this, the homework ought to be done now.
Thank you, Mr. Younger. From the floor, Mrs. Goyer? Kathy Murphy Goyer?
We all know that this, I won't say the resolution, the whole subject has divided the town. Not everybody cares about it, but there's a lot of people who do and have strong feelings one way or the other. I just ask that the board settle it and get it done with, one way or the other. Let the chips fall where they may, and just be done with it for the townspeople. So everybody can move forward one way or the other and get back to stop arguing and fighting. That's all that I ask, is that hopefully, that really wasn't necessary.
What wasn't necessary?
What you just whispered, oh wow, that coming from you. And, you know, why would you?
Why would I say that? Because I've been privy to all of your internet
That's
comments
right.
where you seek to have me put before the district attorney for
I
criminal
said,
charges.
if
So
it
yes, I'm
goes
gonna
that
comment,
far.
oh wow, coming from you.
If it goes that far. See,
No, you
No,
see,
you-
I get my
I
say.
do like to
You're
see.
an internet warrior, I get my say, up here.
oh
And I had
yeah,
it. That's it, that's my say.
and you wonder why people are against you.
Doesn't sound like they are in this building. It doesn't. It sounds like you're the only problem at the
That's an
moment.
attack by the board on me.
Right.
Get control of the meeting.
I have control of the meeting.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Because you
Certain
started.
people you will
You're doing
answer,
a great
certain
job.
people you won't.
You're doing a great
So,
job.
and again, you let this one back there talk whenever he feels like it. But again, if the board would please just get this settled one way or the other, let the chips fall where they may, whether they go to the DA, they don't go to the DA, whatever. Get it done with, please. Thank you. Yeah, and that came from me.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, Mrs. Baldwin, Donna Baldwin.
I'd like to see the chips fall where they may, but I would like some transparency here with the board members, and I would like the questions that the town folk are putting forward to be answered. Not dismissed, not ignored. We pay the taxes here in this town. We pay everyone's salaries. We are legitimately sitting here asking questions, and we want answers. So, with that being said, who proposed resolution number 62? Thank you.
Yes, Reiner Zundrum Jr.
Hey, Reiner Dundrum Jr. When Attorney Loubrand does present a bill, if a bill is presented, does the town have to pay it? Will the town pay it? What will happen? It seems kind of strange that this has gone on this far and there's no bill from Attorney Loubrand yet for the town. So nobody knows who's paying for it, and I'm actually surprised he's not here tonight. This is quite a discussion we're having. And with what Mr. Grunberg said was presented to the rest of the board on Friday, the letters from Mr. Grunberg and from Jim Bonesteel, this seems like there should be some response to that from Attorney Loubrand, and he's not here, and we don't have a bill from him. So that, to me, sounds a little fishy, skeptical about it. And to end on a positive note, Jared, I think you're doing a hell of a job. The roads are great.
Yeah, come on, nice, right?
else from the floor tonight? Yes, Mr. Von Schoen?
Yes, people that are interested in looking at that audit, you can go to the town website under budget, and the audit is there on the website, and our 7 recommendations that were made by this independent auditing firm. And my question is to the board, do they plan on holding a workshop to discuss how these recommendations can be implemented to improve the finances of the town?
Since we paid for it.
That's a great idea.
Since the recommendations were made 9 months ago.
Yes, we made 9 months.
March 18th.
Anyone else from the floor tonight? Yes, Mr. Douglas.
Yeah, so I've attended several meetings over the past year, and you know, one thing I've heard a lot from the board as I attend these meetings is that you have a really good goal of lowering taxes. You know, it's a great goal. I think everyone in this room probably can agree that, you know, we want to lower taxes. But to do this, you've got to use taxpayer money effectively to maximize the benefit to the town while staying within a budget. Obviously, we have a budget we all have to stick to. One of the main things I've noticed here is, you know, this is a task the board's really failed in the last 1 to 2 years. I mean, as you look back, what I see is a personal agenda being put forth to prove corruption in the supervisor's office. You're doing this at the cost of the taxpayers. You have to keep that in mind. People aren't going to put up with that forever. I'm going to give you some examples of things that just either cost us more money as a town, or we're reducing the services within the town. Both are detrimental. So you've got the forensic audit we've already discussed. It's, you know, $16,500. You've got legal fees. They're going to pile up as we go through this, you know, what we're going through as far as what we're talking about. We know that's going to be a pretty big bill in the end. Can't predict, but it's in the thousands most likely. You know, when you go back to the services side, over the last 2 years, first, we reduced the number of hours for our secretary of the supervisor from 16 hours to 10 hours. We don't need quite as many services. Next, we transferred all the responsibilities, a good amount of the responsibilities from the secretary of the supervisor to the town clerk, who's already overburdened, by the way, and it works just about the same number of hours as the supervisor's secretary. Then, just recently, we've eliminated the secretary of the supervisor position for 2023 going on. So as of January 1st, we don't have a secretary of the supervisor. These are all things that add up to chasing after this corruption in the supervisor's office. And meanwhile, all you're doing really is hurting the town. So I just have one simple message in all of this is stop spending taxpayer money on your own personal agenda. Start putting items on the agenda that will not waste taxpayer. Within all of this, I've observed, you know, a lot of this. Again, been to a lot of board meetings, been here and seen a lot. So I've observed that a lot of these items that are on the personal agenda have consistently been brought up by one specific board member, and they almost every time have agreement from 2 other board members that back it. Therefore, a majority. Now, I just want another simple message is the public is watching, and we will remember this in November. Just keep that in mind.
More comments from the floor? Yes, Ann Calabro.
I had one suggestion for the entertainment committee for you guys. They need a sign. They had the concert last weekend, I guess it was last weekend. I drove right by there, never knew what was going on, and it would be a good idea if we had a sign to let people know for a couple days in advance. Okay, so that's for the entertainment committee. So, there are rumors that there's a witch hunt going on. I agree. I'm not sure of the reason. Either it's political aspirations, family vendettas, or merely doing the bidding of another party. For at least the past year and a half, there's been a concerted effort on the part of certain members of the town board to discredit the town supervisor. Now she's being bullied through allegations of misconduct in an effort to encourage her to quit the post in which she was elected, having this done without due process. These same members have cost Grafton thousands of dollars in their efforts, and we've lost services because of their actions. I pray that tonight, these same members will vote in support of the supervisor if you decide to go forward with Resolution 62. Thank you.
No comments from the floor?
So I just want to say, I commend your ability to keep a straight face up there. God bless you.
Thanks, thank you. Great. And what's that?
I know I talked, but I don't believe I used my 5 minutes. Could I just remembered one more thing I wanted to say, if it's okay?
You can have my 5 minutes.
Certainly.
Okay. Like I said, when I was reading this stuff, the problem I have with this is how can a governmental entity that the town of Grafton is have an ethics board that takes one side of the story and gets the attorney to write it all up and ask our supervisor to resign and tell the clerk to send the letter to the DA when they got one side of the story. Just think about that.
Hollywood couldn't write this stuff.
The DA is gonna laugh.
All right. Anyone else tonight on the floor? Mrs. Boyer again?
The audit was not a witch hunt or to see if you were doing something wrong. The books did not match the reports back when Ray was there. And Carrie, my daughter, was bookkeeper. They didn't match. The audit was to find out why.
They never found out why as a result of the audit. It was, the balance sheets are now in balance because we've closed those books and started fresh.
That's right. But that was what they suggested that you do. So now they do match. But it wasn't a witch hunt to find out that you took money or that person took money. It was to find out why didn't they match? And why hadn't they matched for so long? It was a lot of money that they were off. It wasn't just 1,000 or 2. I believe it was over a couple 100,000. And it needed to be, excuse me.
Stop filming too.
You let her talk.
So, it was no witch hunt. It was to try, I remember how frustrating it was because they did not match. And you looked at this balance sheet every month and it meant nothing. So why, I mean, why keep going on like that? And as a town, you need outside audits every now and then. I don't know what the amount of years is, but I know there hadn't been one in a long time.
They found nothing wrong, and it cost the town $16,000.
All right.
Let's not do it
You can't rebut to someone else's comment.
They did give advice that now it matches. That's what we were looking for, was how to correct the problem. They gave us the advice, or gave you the advice, your bookkeeper took it, the balance sheet now matches. That's what the audit was for. To fix the problem. Did we want to keep going on years with a balance sheet that meant absolutely nothing? I don't think as a town we wanted to do that. I think you wanted to look at it and know really how much money you really had in the bank. Because I can remember hearing people say, well, you gotta remember that 300 and some thousand really is fake money, it's not there. And nobody thought anybody took it, but how did it get in the figures? That's what the audit was for.
As you said, those books were out of balance when
That's
Supervisor
right.
Higgins took office.
That's right.
I believe I'd have to look back to see when they went out of balance, but I inherited those out of balance books.
Yeah, you did. So did Ray. And I'm not saying the supervisor before did something. I'm not saying that either. But that's what I mean, they've been out of balance that long.
I think for 5 minutes.
I only get 5 minutes.
You can take mine.
Yes.
Oh, I got Linda's 5 minutes, I can rattle on a little longer. No, no.
Do you intend to, or are you good?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
All right. Yes, Lisa Dooley.
I just have to say, sorry, I'm Lisa Dooley, and I and Kathy, those books drove me nuts for 4 years, you know they did. But the problem I had is that we had a forensic audit, which is looking for illegal activity. We didn't have a financial statement audit, which is looking at the financial statements. Would have saved a lot of money, a lot of time. What it did find, we're not addressing. So why did we bother spending $16,000? We could have spent a lot less money and looked at the financial statements and fixed that. But
that
that's
wasn't
the
the
problem.
intent.
But my,
I'm sorry.
are you using some of my time?
Please, David, please stop interrupting. He just needs to put up on him.
But the other thing that I have a problem with Resolution 62 is that lack of due diligence costs the town a lot of money. These baseless allegations are ridiculous. Can we just do your jobs? Stop with this stuff. Just stop and do your jobs. There's so much good that you guys could be doing. If you have this much energy to put into this kind of stuff, imagine the good you guys could be doing. You know, it would be wonderful. So that's all I say, is just give it up and do your jobs.
Thank you. If I may say at this point, Mrs. Dooley is my deputy supervisor. I just want to make that clear. And I'm thankful and proud of you that you are, so thank you. Anyone else from the floor tonight? Yes, Kathy Fennon's for
If you were to resign, who becomes town supervisor?
Lisa Dooley.
So Lisa does.
For a time, and the process kicks in.
And I don't have the shoulders Ingrid does, so I beg her every day.
Anyone else tonight? Yes, yes.
Cynthia.
Yeah, right, sorry, Cynthia. Cynthia Morris.
Sorry, I came from work, so I don't know what was said before this, before I arrived like 10 minutes ago. But I'm just gonna say that I think it's ridiculous to ask Ingrid to resign. She's been doing a great job, and she has a right to a personal opinion, and to be able to express that without it being taken immediately as speaking to the town. And she's done a great job. She loves the town, and she's trying to do the best for us, I do believe. And I think it's just ridiculous that it's come to this. That's it.
More comments from the floor?
Can I get one more? But I didn't finish up my 5 minutes. Recommendation of the forensic audit. In our questioning of opportunities for fraud, we inquired about the town's cash collection policies and processes. We were told cash was typically only collected by the town clerk for regular licenses and other small items, as well as the recycling system. During the course of our site visits, we witnessed the recycling system in place and observed one worker managing many incoming residents at once. The town clerk explained that at the end of the day, the recycling collector reports the number of bags of garbage received and the corresponding cash amount. In this system, there is no oversight to confirm the garbage collected and the cash amount is correct. We would propose the town utilize a ticket system where residents can purchase tags ahead of time, and since they are sequentially numbered, the town could easily confirm the number of bags received by recording the tag numbers. This would reduce the risk of fraud and errors occurring. I was accused and threatened with a lawsuit from Mr. Beaudry, and that is not an attack, that's a comment of fact.
That's a statement.
Excuse me, Mr. Lewandowski. I was accused and I was threatened with a lawsuit for saying that we need accountability. I'm sorry, you guys have had over 6 months and you still haven't addressed it. You have never spoken about it once in public meeting, and that's wrong. Thank you.
Anyone else from the floor? Mrs. Lavley, Linda Lavley.
I just would like to say that that whole, finance garbage thing, recycling, has been talked about at several meetings. You've talked about ticket systems. And as I recall, a lot of people weren't in favor of ticket systems because now somebody's got to go buy tickets. So this has been discussed, just to, piggytail off what she said, at 3 meetings, as I recall. There's been a whole big discussion about how you'd like to go forward. Not who might be fingering the cash, but is there a more streamlined way to do that? So, yes, it's been discussed because I am at, I want to say 80% of the meetings.
But no resolution.
No.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lawler. Right, anyone else from the floor tonight? Yes, Linda Russell.
Just an observation, but I'm just wondering why that attorney's only been on his phone like through this whole meeting.
Keeping time. Me and Steve are keeping time. Sorry.
He's obviously not keeping time. I can see his
Craig
phone.
thinks he's an attorney, but.
That's fine.
No comments like that, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
No, there was no answer given.
Yeah.
The attorney gave no answer as to why he's on this phone, and Councilman Lewandowski said he's keeping time.
I didn't ask Councilman Lewandowski.
He answered though.
I don't want his answer. I was asking that attorney. I don't care about his answer.
All right, anyone else from the floor tonight? Yes, Leanna Sweet.
Yeah, not as a librarian, but as a person that comes to probably 90 to 100% of these meetings. There was a ruckus at a few months ago when the property was sold to the RPA. And there was a ton of people here, as many as there are tonight. And there was Mr. Bonesfield actually said that you had said that the town supported that purchase or that sale. And then that's when the ethics board probably started their investigation. So I think, I know he's recanted it since. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been investigated more, but there was a reason that the ethics board looked at it to begin with, and that's because of all those people who were here in whenever that was, September, August, whenever that was. I don't remember which month it was, but there was this many people here, and then you had to have a special meeting up at the town, up at the school, because you couldn't fit them in this building. So I think everybody's kind of criticizing the ethics board, and maybe they didn't go they're dismissing the one that was put in place, and that was whose fault? That the current ethics board isn't properly installed.
Well, that's Mr. Danner.
There is some history to this that I think needs to get pointed out, that our ethics board was trying to do a job, and I think that nobody wants to do it, they're doing it as a volunteer, but they had a reason that they first looked into it.
Thank you, Leanna. Anyone else from the floor tonight? All right. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. And now we move on to motions and resolutions. We have resolution number 59 of 2022, which is the approval of proposed local law number 3 of 2022, establishing income levels for real property exemptions for senior citizens with limited income. Whereas the town of Grafton is desirous of establishing income levels for real property tax exemptions for senior citizens with limited income, and whereas the town board has reviewed proposed local law number 3 of the year 2022, attached hereto, and whereas such local law appears appropriate as to form and effect, and a public hearing so as to consider public comments on such proposed local law having been conducted, now therefore be it resolved that proposed local law number 3 of the year 2022 is hereby approved, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to file a certified copy of local law number 3 of 2022 with the office of the New York State Secretary of State. I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 59 of 2022. May I have a second?
Excuse me, is it number 1 or number 3?
It says one on the agenda, that's why we're asking.
The copy that was provided to me by the town clerk has local law number 3.
It is 3, there's
Resolution
been 2 other
59.
local
number
laws
one.
already adopted.
Says number one.
So it's number 3, okay.
Seconded by Councilwoman DeShane.
Thank you.
Councilman Bozak?
Yes.
Councilman DeShane?
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilman Clayton?
Yes.
And Supervisor Dux?
Yes. Okay, moving on to resolution 60 of 2022. This is a resolution to approve proposed local law number 4 of 2022, establishing income levels for real property exemptions for persons with disabilities and limited income. Whereas the town of Grafton is desirous of establishing income levels for real property tax exemptions for persons with disabilities and limited income. And whereas the town board has reviewed proposed local law number 4 of the year 2022 attached hereto. And whereas such local law appears appropriate as to form and effect, and a public hearing so as to consider public comments on such proposed local law having been conducted, now therefore be it resolved that proposed local law number 4 of the year 2022 is hereby approved, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to file a certified copy of local law number 4 of 2022 with the Office of the New York State Secretary of State. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 60. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Lewandowski.
Councilman Bozak?
Yes.
Councilman Bashir?
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilman Hoyt?
Yes.
Supervisor Leonard?
Yes. Excuse me, yes. All right, Resolution 61 of 2022 concerns animal control. Whereas the town of Grafton is in need of mandated animal control services for the town of Grafton for the year 2023. And whereas the town council has been advised that the Columbia Green Humane Society is willing to provide such services per the attached contract, and good cause appearing therefore, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Grafton hereby approves the attached contract with Columbia Green Humane Society for animal control services on behalf of the town of Grafton for 2023 for the amounts set forth in the attached contract. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 61. May I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Hoyt.
Councilman Bozak?
Yes.
Councilman Bashir?
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilman Hoyt?
Yes.
And Supervisor Leonard?
Yes. And now we have Resolution 62 of 2022, which I am going to ask that I not read.
Resolution 62 of 2022, whereas the town of Grafton Town Board has received a report and recommendations from the town of Grafton Ethics Board concerning allegations of unethical behavior by the town supervisor, and whereas the town board, based upon such report recommendation from the town of Grafton Ethics Board, retained special counsel Kevin A. Lubrin Esquire to review the matter and report to the town board, and whereas such special counsel has submitted the attached legal opinion with recommendations and good cause appearing therefore, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Grafton hereby approves the attached legal opinion from special counsel and admonishes the town supervisor for unethical actions and urges her to immediately resign from office, and it is further resolved that the town clerk is directed to transmit a copy of this resolution with attachment to the Rensselaer County District Attorney, who is urged to consider bringing possible criminal charges against the town supervisor and up for her improper conduct. I'd like to make a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Bozak?
Yes.
Councilman Bashir?
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilman Hoyt?
Unfortunately and uncomfortably, yes.
Supervisor Leonard?
No. All right, we have Resolution 63 of 2022. Whereas the town of Grafton Historical Society, excuse me, let's just get this over with, please. Thank you. Whereas the town of Grafton Historical Society has requested the use of the Grafton Town Hall on Sunday, December 18th, from 2 to 4 for a holiday party so as to promote community spirit in the town and good cause appearing therefore. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Grafton Historical Society is hereby authorized to use the Grafton Town Hall on Sunday, December 18th, from 2 to 4 p.m. for a holiday party so as to promote community spirit in the town. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 63 of 2022. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Lewandowski.
Councilman
It is all
Bozak?
about the spirit
Yes.
of things, isn't it?
Councilman Bashir?
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilman Hoyt?
Yes.
And Supervisor Leonard?
Yes. All right, now we have to pay our bills. So we have vouchers number 522 through 570 with the exclusion of 560, in the total amount of $91,276.17. $91,276.17. I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Beaudry.
Councilman Beaudry,
Yes.
Councilman LaShane,
Yes.
Councilman Lewandowski,
Yes.
Councilman Hoyt,
Yes.
and Supervisor Wilt.
Yes. Okay, we have upcoming meetings and workshops. The next town board workshop meeting will be held on December 26th, 2022 at 6:30 PM. That is our year-end meeting at which we approve end-of-year vouchers. And we'll have an organizational meeting for 2023 that we'll announce the date soon. All right? Then we have legislative privilege. Would anyone like to avail themselves of legislative privilege this evening? Nothing to say? All right. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Lewandowski and Councilwoman Shane.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.